Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribhāja Acharya Ashtotar Simhat Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vindi Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 87th chapter, text number 22. Tvad-anupathaṁ kulāyam idam ātma-suhṛt-priya-vac. Charanti tathonmukhe tvayi hite ātmani ca. Na bata ramanty asad-upāsanayātma-hano. Yad-anuśayā bhramanty uru-bhaye ku-śarīra-bhṛtaḥ. tvad-anupathaṁ kulāyam idam ātma-suhṛt-priya-vac. Charanti tathonmukhe tvayi hite ātmani ca. Navataramantyho asad-upāsanayātma-hano. Yad-anuśayā bhramanty uru-bhaye ku-śarīra-bhṛtaḥ. Anupatham kulāyam ātma-suhṛt-priya-vac. tathonmukhe tvayi hite ātmani ca. bata ramanty asad-upāsanayā-mano.
tvad-anupathaṁ kulayātma ātma-suhṛt-priya-vac. carati tathonmukhe tvayi hite priye ātmani ca. bhramantyho asad-upāsanayātma-hano. yad-anuśayā uru-bhaye ku-śarīra-bhṛtaḥ.
Vaishnavi. Savataramantyho asad-upāsanayātma-hano. Yad-anuśayā bhramanty uru-bhaye ku-śarīra-bhṛtaḥ. Tvat, you, anupatham, useful for serving. Kulāyam, body. Idam, this. Atma, self. Suhṛt, friend. Priya, and beloved. But as. Charanti, acts. Tathā, nevertheless. Unmukhe, who are favorably disposed. Tvayi, in you. Hite, who are helpful. Priye, who are affectionate. Ātmani, who are their very self. Cha, and. Na, not. Bata, alas. Ramanty, they take pleasure. Aho, asat, of the unreal. Upāsanayā, by worship. Ātma, themselves. hanaḥ, killing. Yat, in which worship of the unreal. anuśayā, whose persistent desires. Bhramanty, they wander. Uru, greatly. Bhaye, in the fearful material existence. Ku, degraded. Śarīra, bodies. Bhṛtaḥ, carrying. Translation and purport. When this human body is used for your devotional service, it acts as one's self, friend, and beloved. But unfortunately, although you always show mercy to the conditioned souls and affectionately help them in every way, And although you are their true self, people in general fail to delight in you. Instead, they commit spiritual suicide by worshiping illusion. Alas, because they persistently hope for success in their devotion to the unreal, they continue to wander about this greatly fearful world, assuming various degraded bodies. So we can all repeat. When this human body is used for your devotional service, it acts as one's self, friend and beloved. But unfortunately, although you always show mercy to the conditioned souls and affectionately help them in every way, and although you are their true self, people in general fail to delight in you. Instead, they commit spiritual suicide by worshiping illusion. Alas, because they persistently hope for success in their devotion to the unreal, they continue to wander about this greatly fearful world, assuming various degraded bodies. Report. The Vedas have strong words for those who choose to remain in illusion rather than to serve the all-merciful personality of Godhead. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 4.3.15 states, Aramam asya pashanti natam pashati kaschana natam vidhatha ya ima jajanya yusmakam antaram babuva niharina pavita jalpya chashutripa utkantashashas charanti. Everyone can see the place where the Lord manifests himself in this world for his own pleasure, but no one sees him. Chakshurum militam vinatasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadati Swaparantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharine Yad Vishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatyarishatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is a famous verse from the Upanishads that it says you can see where the Lord has his pastimes. You can see, we can see Vrindavan, we can see this place, we can go to Mayapur, we can go to Jagannath Puri. But unless we're spiritually capable, we can't see him. Which means that so many people come through here and they're seeing the deity, but they're seeing the deity as the giver of varada. Give me some blessings. Give me some benefits. So they're not seeing the Lord as he is. And so this is I just wanted to emphasize this before I forget about it. Hopefully, by remembering it again, I won't forget about it. And none of you know him who generated all living beings. Otherwise, this verse from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, no, he's the cause of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. But you don't you don't even know he's there, nor do you see him. Otherwise, inviting us to think, how is all this happening? We see so many wonderful things. Just like one young boy, I've told this story a few times, it's a nice story. He was very interested in the temple. He was only 16 years old. But he became distracted as far as his material studies, became interested in Krishna. Just like this verse is saying, and his parents say, I want you to worship the unreal. No, please worship the unreal that we have created. No, but he just couldn't do it. His parents went to the temple, devotees told him, oh, you have to study, otherwise we'll have problems. Just couldn't do it. So finally his father took him to an insane asylum and committed him. Said, my boy's gone crazy, he's following some strange religious group. And please, he's mad. So they took him in, went for the interview, and the doctor said, do you see things differently than others? Oh, yes. Uh-huh. Okay. And do you hear things differently? Oh, yes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. A1 case here. And then he says, well, like there was a flower. He said, why this flower? What do you see? And he said, well, most people, they see a beautiful red, or whatever color it was, yellow, beautiful flower with nice fragrance. But I don't see that. No. 3 strikes, you're out. No. And so then he said, well, what do you see? He said, well, I see, that's something so beautiful that no human being can create. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, it says, the earth creates fragrance. So you take 1 meter of earth and a rose can produce a beautiful fragrance, but all the scientists in the world with that 1 meter of dirt cannot produce the same. So therefore the rose is more advanced, because it's empowered by Krishna. So he started talking like that. So I see there must be some great intelligence behind this. And so it's that great intelligence that I see manifested everywhere. I was like 16-year-old. The doctor was amazed. How do you know this? Where did you get this from? I said, Bhagavad Gita. And he pulled out his Bhagavad Gita. He started reading. They were there for 2 hours reading Bhagavad Gita until the nurse came in and said, doctor, you have like 10 patients waiting. Oh, sorry. He said, come with me. He took the boy, called his father, said, come pick up your boy. Father said, oh, that was quick. No, he really did a good job. This is a express clinic. And so then the father came thinking, oh, it's a miracle. And he saw him standing there with his japa bag and his Bhagavad Gita. He said, what's he doing with that? He said, he's the sanest person I've ever met. No. And the father started hyperventilating and just shaking, and they committed the father into the insane asylum. And the boy went home. So the point is that, as this verse from the Upanishad says, that we don't see things connected to the Creator, that which generates everything and everyone. We see things, according to our sense pleasure and our materially contaminated emotions. Of course, emotions are the most important thing for the living being. That's why when they're contaminated, they get us into so much trouble. But when they're purified, in Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan, there's pure emotion. Everything's emotion. Everything's loving sentiment. There's no need for logic. Just love Krishna. But until we get to that point, then we have to use intelligence to purify the emotions so that they're directed toward Krishna. So this is what this verse is saying, that if you're seeing Krishna, then your body can be very beneficial. can be very beneficial. But if not, it can be a great problem. And thus, there is a great difference between your vision and his, covered by the fog of illusion. Your performers of Vedic rituals indulge in useless talk and live only to gratify your senses. Just like when Krishna and Balaram sent their friends to see the Brahman. They saw their chanting of mantras just useless talk. Otherwise, chanting some mantras, but they don't know what the purpose of those mantras are, which is Krishna. Vedashta Savayar Ahmeva Vedyo. The Supreme Lord pervades this universe, as he says in Bhagavad Gita, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat. Nothing in this world, not even the most insignificant clay pot or shred of cloth, is devoid of the presence of the personality of Godhead. But because he keeps himself invisible to envious eyes, avyaktamurtina, materialists are misled by his material energy and think that the source of material creation is a combination of atoms and physical forces. It's like in the 16th chapter, Jagatahur-anishwaram. This whole universe, there's no controller. No? Asatyam, apratishtam. No? There's no absolute truth. There's no basis for anything. And everything, kamadyat, kam, haitukam, everything is meant for sense gratification. We can see that. This guy was reading one medical article, and this person is supposed to be a naturalist and everything, and said, well, if you have this condition, you can eat this fish, and if you don't eat too much meat, just like they see the animals, just like some thing. And when they do that, I always say, do you have a dog? Well, why don't you eat him? It's just a thing. Why spend so much money? Just eat him. And then sometimes they wake up a little bit. Otherwise, they get mad because I'm insulting their dog. Displaying their compassion for such foolish materialists, the personified Vedas advise them in this prayer to remember the real purpose for which they exist, to serve the Lord, their greatest well-wisher, with loving devotion. The human body is the ideal facility for reviving one's spiritual consciousness. Its organs, ears, tongue, eyes, and so on are quite suitable for hearing about the Lord, chanting his glories, worshiping him, and performing all other essential aspects of devotional service. So, it says here, the body is ideal. Everything, when it's used for its proper purpose, is ideal. And so the body is ideal. You have a tongue for glorifying Krishna. You have ears for hearing about Krishna. You have a mind to think of Krishna. Maya-srikta-mana-partha. Just fix your mind, attach your mind to me, Krishna says. Otherwise, all through Bhagavad Gita, it says giving up attachment, and Krishna says, I want attachment. Attachment is good. Everything is real. Everything has reality, but it has to be directed to Krishna. So the body, Nrinam adyam sulabam sudurlabam. In the Bhagavatam, it says that the body is easily attained through evolution. Otherwise, it's easily, meaning it can be attained. There's no, and another meaning of sulabam means you will attain it by an evolutionary process, not by qualification. By qualification, sudurlabam. It's very difficult. By evolution, everybody will get it eventually. So it's no big deal. If you get it by evolution, anybody can do that. But sudurlabam, but to get it by qualification, that requires some effort. And so, it says that plavam sukalpam gurukarnadharam, that it becomes a very beneficial boat, a very auspicious boat, when gurukarnadharam, when the boat is, the captain of the boat is Sri Guru. No. Otherwise, the body becomes beneficial when it's under the guidance of the parampara. Then it's very beneficial. Otherwise, it's a big obstacle, which is the whole, more than the second part of this verse. No. This person who you should be worshipping, who is tathonmukhe, who is the other, saying the other face, otherwise, or who you should, the face you should be seeing, but you're turning away from it. You should be seeing this face, which is the Supreme Lord, but you're turning away from it. Tvayi hite, who is hite, who only thinks of your benefit, priya, who is to whom you are the most dear. No. Krishna says, everyone is dear to me. No. And that person, ātmani, who is your very source of existence. No. You, unfortunately, no. Sabata ramanty asad-upāsanayā. Asad-upāsanayā, a very important word in this verse. You are worshipping the asat. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, yo yam yam tanum bhakta shradharyachitum ichati tasya chalam shraddha. When you put your faith, or whatever you put your faith in, is specifically speaking about demigods. Otherwise, when you put your faith in the demigods, Krishna will give you full faith. No. He will make you remember that demigod and forget about him. But people aren't even so advanced to worship demigods. They worship money, they worship fame, they worship so many things, useless things, and dedicate their lives to it. Just like I've always been amazed. I had one professor of literature, and he had like 6 PhDs. And I said, so he was speaking to me one day. He said, I have 6 PhDs. He said, well, what good did it do you? I said, I didn't have any know about Krishna consciousness, but I was thinking, he's old, he can't walk properly, no. He can't think, he has to really think about things, really to bring back some memory. He was like 80 years old, 80-some years old. And so he said, well, I learned so many things. And I said, well, I asked him, and he said, well, I've studied all the works of Samuel Johnson, Shakespeare, all these, European philosophers and writers. And I thought about it at that time, that how could one dedicate one's life just trying to figure out what somebody else said? No. So, I've thought about this many times. I see people that they dedicate themselves studying, Shakespeare their whole life, and trying to give some new meaning when the meaning is already there. They try to extract some new meaning, and this is the Mayavad tendency. Let me show everyone how I can find something they can't find. And you ask, that's why Srila Prabhupada calls Bhagavad Gita as it is. This is what Krishna wanted you to know, not what someone else conjures out of it. But this is what Krishna wants you to know. So anyway, the material body can be beneficial if we hear from those who know and who understand the purpose of the Vedas. Just like in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavate Mahamune Krite, that you should understand this Bhagavatam from Mahamuni, not from some other person who's speculating, who spoke it so beautifully. And if you do that, kim va paraya, what is the use of anything else? This is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, it's not necessary to read many books, because the Bhagavatam itself declares from the very beginning, this is sufficient. And Srila Prabhupada said many times, even Bhagavad Gita is sufficient to come to the point of surrendering to Krishna. But then when you surrender to Krishna, then what do? You serve Him. No, you don't just surrender and in a state of animation, I'm surrendered, but you serve Him. And the Bhagavatam guides us how to serve Him and how to avoid the obstacles that will appear in that service due to our conditioning. So anyway, so the Bhagavatam, maya nukolyena navasvataritam. And Krishna speaking, he says, my instructions are like a favorable wind, and the sails of that boat is your hearing. You can capture that wind, and it will guide you to a very auspicious, pumam bhavadim. It will take you beyond the ocean of material existence, sataret. But those who do not utilize this body for surrendering to the parampara and crossing the ocean, then sa-ātma-suhṛt, that they kill the soul. This is what's being this is the killer of the soul. The Bhagavatam mentions this many times. In the beginning of the 10th canto, it says those who have not who don't drink the nectar of this Bhagavatam and vavau chat mano bhramanty, and don't relish with their mind this wonderful message of the Bhagavatam to cure the disease of material existence, bhava rog, then karutama shloka gunānuvadat, and who relish the most wonderful praise of the greatest person. Who are those people? Pashugnat. They are killers of the animals and the killer of the soul. The killer of the soul is that person who doesn't take advantage. Just like I've mentioned many times that Srila Prabhupada said in the 12th chapter of Madhya Lila, and there's one verse, I can't remember which chapter it is, but it tells about the 6 upashakas, or the 6 weeds that can cover the bhakti lata. And one of them is jiva-himsa. And Srila Prabhupada said jiva-himsa means that you have the opportunity to give Krishna consciousness to someone and you don't take advantage of it. This is the worst violence you can commit, worse than killing someone, because you're taking away this opportunity, this unique opportunity that has come about. How many devotees are there and how many conditioned jivas that have never heard about Krishna are there? So if we don't take advantage of that, then we can be very, very unfortunate. So the purport continues. One's material body is destined to remain intact only for a short time, and so it is called kulāyam, subject to dissolving in the earth, kau liyate. Nonetheless, if properly utilized, it can be one's best friend. When the false friend, distracting the bewildered living entity from his true self-interest, distracting the building from his false friend, distracting the bewildered living being from his true self-interest. Persons too much infatuated with their own bodies and those of their spouses, children, pets, and so on, are in fact misdirecting their devotion to the worship of illusion, asad-upāsanayā. It mentions here pets. I saw one, when you go into Google, you see all these articles. I saw one, what is your dog thinking? No. I thought, okay, let's see what they have to say. No. They go through this whole intricate thing of these studies, to figure out what the dog is thinking. Well, what is the dog thinking? Give me food, We know that from the Bhagavatam, And you take any dog, Just like we had a dog in Colombia, Doberman, very fierce. Nobody could even get near him. They bought him to protect the farm, but we couldn't even let him loose because he would attack anyone. And so we every day gave him Mahaprasadam. And then he became very friendly. Of course, but we were giving him something to eat, but it was Maha, so it worked very quickly. And he became very friendly. Actually, Somukhe Swami told me that in Italy, they had one neighbor that had one of these dogs that jumps up, when you go by, it just jumps up against the wall, barking, going crazy. And every day the devotees would come by and throw some halava over the door, And after some time, the owner came to the temple with the dog. He said, take this dog, it's useless. You've been feeding, I don't know what you've been feeding him, but he doesn't bark anymore. But anyway, pets, people, there's deep analysis of what the dog's thinking, And then they're eating, they're eating meat and reading this article, about what the dog's thinking. So it's just such an illusory existence. So thinking about, so many times the Bhagavatam speaks about this, that if our mind is distracted, swadi kalatadishu bhoma idyadi, if our intelligence is absorbed in family, wife, children, friends, all these things, grihakshetra sutapta vitaya, so many places the Bhagavatam says that, it is this combination of man and woman, this is what it leads to, that a whole grihakshetra, you have to have a home, kshetra, you have to have a field of activity, sutta apta, you will have children, you will have descendants and ascendants. You already have so many relatives, now you have twice as many. And if you married in India, you'll have to go to a wedding about every week. A wedding, cousin's wedding, the second cousin's wedding. Every week. Every time I try to arrange a program with people, say, I can go. Oh no, we have a wedding, and we have a wedding. We have a wedding. So anyway, it's it can be very distracting. In this way, as the Shrutis state here, such people commit spiritual suicide, ensuring future punishment for failing to carry out the higher responsibilities of human existence. As the Ishupanishad 3 declares, asura namate loka andena tamasabitaha tam te pratyabhigachanti yete chatma-hano janaha. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Those who are overly attached to sense gratification, or who worship the impermanent in the form of false materialistic scriptures or philosophies, maintain desires that carry them into more degraded bodies into each successive life. Just like there are many Western religions that believe that even one of them, that you should be vegetarian, not because of sparing the animals, but because their idea is that when you die, you'll go to heaven or whatever. No, certainly not Goloka Vrindavan, and in that same body, and therefore you should eat nice things. And so all kinds of different beliefs. And so here, another type of worship, even if it's in the name of religion, Just like in the U.S., I don't know about Europe, but U.S., they have Satan churches. And you get non-deductible tax donations to these churches. Worship, Satan, Maya, or, Kali. And you get a tax donation, a tax deductible, if you donate to these churches. There was one of them that used to own this big company in the U.S., Procter & Gamble, which makes all kinds of household items. And they had this little symbol on there, which meant all this money will go to worship the devil. And until somebody started publishing it, and then so they took the symbol off, because people stopped buying all their products. So whoever was in charge of that company was a devil worshiper, and providing products for every home, putting a little devil symbol in everybody's home. So, of course, now they just do it through internet, social media. You don't need products. Just, of course, it can be used for Krishna service as anything. So that carry them to more degraded bodies in each successive life. So this is what it says in this verse. It says, what is the phrase? Uru-bhaye, uru-bhaye. That great fear. But the thing is, they're not even fearful. Just like in the Bhagavatam, they gives you there's an analysis in the 11th canto of how fear arises and how you can overcome it. Bhayam dvitiya viniveshata syat. It comes from worshiping the secondary cause, which is Maya. When you worship Maya, you become fearful. But here it says people are so foolish, they're not even fearful of that which they fear. Rather, they fear God. He's going to punish me. Therefore, let me do some little religious practice as an insurance policy so that he won't punish me, so that they're fearful of God. Just like in many Western religions, they fear of God. This is real religion, to fear God. But the Bhagavatam is saying, no, you should fear material existence and love God. But they love material existence and fear God. That God is dangerous because he may too much. You get too religious, and I may have to give up something I like. So let me just enough. Just a quota, just my quota. And the Bhagavatam, just take your quota of matter and absorb yourself in Krishna. And the materialists, just take your quota of God, and indulge in matter. So the total opposite. Since they are entrapped in perpetually rotating cycle of samsara, their only hope for salvation is getting a chance to hear the merciful instructions spoken by the Supreme Lord's devotees. Srila Swami prays, tvayi ātmana jagannate man-mano ramatami kada mamidvisham janma manusham sambhavishyati. When will I receive a human birth in which my mind can take pleasure in you, who are the Supreme Soul and Lord of the universe? So he's already in a human body. But of course, being a humble, pure devotee, he's saying, when will I get a body which will allow me to do this instead of being absorbed in sense gratification? So when do we get that body? When our consciousness is absorbed in Krishna. You don't have to change, You don't. People sometimes think, even in devotional service, this is so difficult. Let me just take another birth, I'll just, I'll wait this one out, since I'm so inclined to enjoy. So the Bhagavatam has a solution for this. Because sometimes, devotional service is difficult. The Bhagavatam realizes that devotional service can be a little difficult sometimes. But it says, Chatta Shraddho Matkatasu, that those who have awakened faith in me, Krishna says, and in hearing about me and speaking about me, and they've also, but by that study, they've advanced some in devotional service, and nirvina sarva karmasu. They realize that karma puts you into so many difficult situations, and Veda dukatmakam kaman, and they realize that sense gratification will cause so much difficulty, but parityage yadishvaraha, but they can't control their senses. So this is anartha nivritti stage. You want to worship Krishna, you realize that Krishna is, but you're still bothered by some material desires. So the Bhagavad says, tato bhajitata, Krishna says, tato bhajita mam, prita. Just worship me with love and affection. Just keep worshiping me with loving affection. Shraddha lur, tvad-anuśayā. With keep your faith strong by determination and devotional service. And whenever this sense gratifications becomes manifest, jushyamanash, chatan kaman. Whenever these zero desires surface again, and you indulge in sense gratification. This is talking about nice sense gratification. And what people think, it's okay, it's nice. No, I'm not harming anyone, I'm okay. Whenever that happens, then dukudhar comes cha garhayan. Then whenever it happens, be repentant. Remember, just as Arjuna asked Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, what is it that compels me to engage in sense gratification? And Krishna answers, kama esha krodesha rajaguna samudbhava. So whenever that happens, just be a little repentant. Just be a little repentant and reflect on what is the purpose of life. So otherwise, basically the Bhagavatam is saying, whenever devotional service becomes difficult because of sense gratification, which is natural in this world, also in the 11th canto it says that people are naturally inclined to intoxication, sex life, and meat eating. The inclination is there. And now they made a whole philosophy out of it. What do they call that? Like we were just born as hunters and gatherers. They have a name for that. That philosophy. It's keto something. Yeah, that this is natural. You're naturally going to do these things because this is how we evolved from the lower species. So it's okay. Everything is okay. Keto philosophy. And so just eat a lot of protein and you'll be okay. That's our natural inclination. So the Bhagavatam says, so what is the solution? Then the solution is an animal can be sacrificed by proper method, by yajna. There is marriage, for the desire for sex life. And as far as intoxication, the ritualistic, just like when I was young, I had some friends that were acolytes in the Catholic Church. So they trained me. I never, I wasn't Catholic, but they trained me. So one day they brought me out with them and carrying the candles and everything down the altar. And then I saw the priest. They had the wine. Everybody else gets a little wafer, but he took the whole cup. I said that was the end of my alcoholic days. I thought, this is weird, strange, And then I caught the priest afterwards. Took about another 2 cups in the back after the whole thing was over with. Not all priests are like that, but I was just point is that sacred. So there is a sacred type of intoxication. Actually, when we think about Kshatriyas, they break all the 4 regulative principles. Before battle, they eat meat. They take somarats. They can have relationships to protect other ladies. Of course, they're supposed to protect them, not just one time, but for the rest of their life. And so, they gamble. So, but it's regulated. It's not every day, unlimited quantities, like people in this world. It's a regulated thing. They can do it certain times because they have these great, powerful bodies, and real Kshatriyas, not weightlifters, but real Kshatriyas, fearless. So they have these. They do, of course, Vaishnava Kshatriyas. They wouldn't do this, all these things. But this was the Kshatriya code. But a devotee, we refrain from these things. But how do we do it? So the Bhagavatam recommends we just worship Krishna and direct everything to Krishna. This is the whole purpose. The previous verses were all speaking about, surrendering, entering into the ocean of bliss. But basically it was to escape misery. Therefore, this verse comes back to remind us of the misery that can be caused by the material body. Then that will go on for a little while, and then again it encourages us. We told you what to do to get rid of misery, but it's not really to get rid of misery. No, the last part of this chapter tells us it's actually to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Getting rid of misery is it's a natural thing to do, but it's not the purpose of spiritual life. It's a byproduct. Purpose is to please Krishna. So, and if we do that, then the body becomes a friend. Otherwise, it's an obstacle. So these are some thoughts on this verse. I'll stop here. Any comment or question?
You were saying the devotee would pray to get in another body so the senses and mind don't disturb them. But the present body that one has is actually the result of one's desires to enjoy this material world. And the mind and senses, don't they act according to the desires of the living entity himself? And so how does praying to get another body are the mind and senses something separate than the individual person? Or how does that work?
Well, that's there, that's recommended. Bhaja-hure manashi nanda-nandana. But Krishna's method in the second chapter, param-drishtva-nivartate, that when we develop a higher taste, and I always mention that developing a higher taste is something everyone has done. When we were small children, we were attached to some little toy, and if someone tried to take it away, it was scandal. But then as soon as we got a better toy, forget about it. And so, of course, people just go through life getting better and better toys until the end. Now I've got my, my automobile toy, and then electric automobile toy, and then But if we just follow this is the principle of Krishna consciousness. That's why it works, because you're actually getting a higher taste. And therefore Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that renunciation without getting a higher taste, that that the taste will remain. The taste will remain. And so param-drishtva-nivartate. But if you get a higher taste, then so that's the way that we go beyond the desires that we ourselves created by our previous existence.
Thank you.
Any other comment or question?
Hare Krishna. That taste you talk about is actually bestowed by Krishna. it comes from Krishna. Krishna gives us a higher taste.
Yes.
If we do all these things that are described in our scriptures and by our acharyas, the taste is coming from Krishna himself.
Yes. Yes, yeah, thank you. Anyone else? In the background.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you. Maharaj, just like you mentioned that like we hear this particular statement, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. So is there anything really wrong with that statement? Like we are mentioning, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. It's a common statement. Is something wrong with that statement? We see the opposite in our tradition. If we fear God, how can we, relate with God? So here is a common statement that is very paramount.
Well, fear of God is also there in the Vedic tradition, in the sense that the first step, the neophyte devotee will fear God. They're afraid that I'll be punished because they have so many bad habits. But then, as they advance to the madhyam stage, everything is a sense of duty. I must do this because this is what Krishna tells me to do. And after we do that and become fixed, then the uttamadhikari, I want to please Krishna. No, not that I must please Krishna, I want to please Krishna. Because I've developed that taste by chanting, by hearing, by serving. And so then it becomes love of God. So fear of God, duty before God, and then love of God. It happens organically. Yeah. Yes? It can happen in one life, although it doesn't always happen in one life. But Krishna will take care of us. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. So when we were reading in the purport that there is worshipping Krishna and worshipping illusion, so on one end we have worshipping Krishna with sincerity, but being aware of our frailties and weaknesses. But on the other hand, you have worshipping illusion, but thinking we are worshipping Krishna, which also can happen, where there is absolute lack of awareness. So how do you then get back if we don't have the openness to really understand, we don't have the awareness or biased?
How do we get to that point?
How do we really identify, like I have the bias and I'm not really able to understand if I am worshipping Krishna versus I'm worshipping illusion?
Well, if you're worshipping Krishna, then we feel, if we're worshipping Krishna and chanting properly, that the gross material desires will be cleared away, and and also the subtle material desires, and then then everything becomes auspicious, and then we can't give up the holy name. And then anandam buddhi vardhanam. So we'll know by that. Then that bliss expands and expands more and more. And then patipadam pratamina, then it becomes nectar at every step. It's not just feeling better, but it's nectar. And then sarvatma snapanam, I'm totally immersed. Just like it said, immersed in one of the previous verses, immersed in an ocean of bliss. So it's pretty easy to see if that's happening. No. It's not, if I'm wondering, am I in bliss or not? No. And most likely not. No.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So,
Hare Krishna, I understand, Maharaj, you mentioned that when we eat meat, we treat animals as a thing, right?
mm-hmm.
But I was also thinking that, for example, if we drink milk, right, but we do not give full care to the cow, like it was traditionally in Indian society, right, that the cow is like a family member. So I understand that this is also like treating a cow as a thing. We separate the product from loving care to mother cow, right? Is that correct?
Well, of course, I've been on a campaign to try to make the devotees aware not to see the cow as a milk machine, but to see the cow as a mother, and therefore take care of her properly and love her as a mother. But yes, some people have that lack of compassion, that they see the cow very special, which she is, and then they don't have compassion for other animals. So a devotee, just like we see, Bharat had compassion for the ants. The Jains have compassion for the germs. Of course, I think it's more trying not to incur in sinful activity than compassion, but in any case, as we develop in devotional service, every living entity becomes worshipable. Just like Vasudeva, the Vasudeva leper, after he was purified, he would, if a worm fell out of his body, he would take it and put it back. He hasn't finished eating. So that's real compassion. And so yes, we want to get to the point of full compassion and take into account everyone and everything, the plants, even any aspect of matter, the earth planet itself. Instead of offering the earth plastic, we should offer the earth everything that we can, so that show our respect for Mother Earth, Mother Cow. Hare Krishna.
I have seen on our farm a good example, actually, how because the cows are grazing, then no living entities are harmed. All living entities can live in harmony together. So my experience was that this example on the farm is how all living entities are treated with compassion, because everyone can live together. No one is killed unnecessarily. So I understand Srila Prabhupada, that's why he encouraged this living on the land, agriculture, cow protection, so that everyone lives in harmony.
Well, Krishna also. Krishna and Balaram, they, by example, not just by speaking about it, but their example was they worship the cows, worship the earth. And they're the creators of it, and still they worship it. Sometimes we think, if something belongs to me, I can do what I want with it. It's like sometimes people say to me, don't worry, I'll pay for it. I say, well, this is yours? This money belongs to you? Otherwise, we should understand everything belongs to Krishna. Not that I have my money, and so I was telling one devotee, he said, I'll pay for it. I said, no, but it's a waste. No, we don't want to waste Krishna's resources. Use them carefully. So yes, very good point. So I think we'll have to stop here as the time factor has entered. Thank you all very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai, Jai Gaura Premanandi.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.